Hey, everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Rising Tide Leadership Podcast, created in partnership with ChurchHub.AI, the tool that helps pastors to work smarter, lead healthier, and to focus on what really matters. And today we're wrapping up our Freedom Framework mini-series. Over the past few weeks, we've talked about leading from the margin, multiplying leadership, and today we're going to start talking about what it means to actually have success in your ministry and why is success important and what is success in ministry. Today's episode is called Refining Success in Ministry, from growth to health. So to help me do that, please welcome back to the show, Mr. Rick Bullman.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. I'm excited about this. I'm all about helping pastors be successful. So, Rick, I've just got some questions for you. And the first one is this. How did you used to define success earlier on in ministry? Was it different than what it is today? Like, talk to me about those changes.
Yeah, absolutely. When I first started, success meant growth. That meant bigger attendance, bigger buildings, bigger budgets, and I equated activity with impact. But over time, I realized you can have a full calendar and an empty soul at the same time. So success isn't always about how many people show up. It's about how many grow up. So God, I look at it this way. God measures faithfulness more than flash. So that shift from growth to health completely changed how I lead.
Yeah, so the first question for our audience today is it faithfulness or is it flash for you? And we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, so engage with us. Rick, great opening. Second question is this. Why do you think so many pastors equate success with growth? I know we all say that we're not supposed to care about the size of the congregation, but let's be real. Both pastors and parishioners equate success with growth. Why is that? And why can we not get away from that?
I know. When I was a youth, we had 5 kids in our youth group. And then literally in a year and a half, we had 400. And then I became a pastor and I just thought, well, that's how you do ministry. You start with 5 and you get 400 in a year. And I realized that's just not the case. So honestly, I think in seriousness, I believe we've been conditioned that way. The conferences in the past and some today have celebrated attendance spikes, not so much emotional and spiritual maturity. Jesus never said, well done, good and successful servant. I don't think that's in any translation. He said, well done, good and faithful servant. So when growth becomes the goal, we start performing instead of pastoring. And that's what I did. So when health becomes the goal, growth becomes the byproduct, not the prize.
All right. So then what does a healthy church actually look like?
A healthy church looks like transformation. A healthy church just isn't a small church. It's not a big church. You can have both, but it's about transformation. Are your people loving more deeply, serving more willingly, and living a life of generosity? I think it's less about seating capacity and more about sending capacity. Are you hoarding who comes in because you want it big? Are you bringing people in, equipping them, transforming them, and then sending them back out? I think that's a biblical principle, if I'm not mistaken. Could be. So if your people are being changed, and your leaders are flourishing, that's success, regardless of the size of your church or ministry.
Yeah. And for the YouTube audience, what do you think, pastors? What is success for you? Do you agree with Rick? What is your idea of a healthy church? We'd love for you to drop a comment below. Love it, Rick. How do pastors keep focus when the pressure of numbers is constant?
Well, God is all about the root, the man's heart. So to me, I would say to answer that question, it starts with identity. You're not the CEO of a company. You're the shepherd of souls. You're not the savior of souls. You're the shepherd of souls. There's a difference. The moment you remember who you're serving and why, numbers lose their grip. So I would say use data as a tool, but not as a mirror for your worth.
What happens when pastors chase growth over health for long periods?
Yeah, it's real simple. It's called burnout. You're going to burn out. You're going to hit the wall. You start treating people like projects instead of partners. And so eventually ministry becomes performance. And when that happens, your soul starts to wither, even if the church looks alive. So that's why we're talking about freedom in this series. It's not freedom from hard work. It's freedom from measuring yourself by the wrong scoreboard.
So I want to get practical here. How can pastors measure health instead of just growth?
I would say look at these kinds of questions. So are my leaders thriving or just surviving? Are people living out their faith beyond Sunday? And is there generosity in their life? Is it growing? And then not just financially, giving of their time and their talent and their treasure. So I'd say you track those, and you do that by way of conversation, not charts. So, real quick, back to, are my leaders thriving versus surviving? It just popped into my head now. I was just talking to someone who works at a university, Christian university, and they are run ragged. They have no margin. They're mentally depleted. And so I would just say, even though the person that leads, the university is a great individual, they get so tunnel vision that their leaders are dying and they're not even seeing it. Or if they see it, they put it off to the side. Yeah, we'll get to that. Oh yeah, we'll hire someone. Oh yeah, no, we'll get you help. And it's just because that person's not managing their time well. They're scrambling. It makes everybody else scramble. And so therefore they're not thriving. They're just surviving. And that's not health. And so when your team is dying, let's be Jesus and recognize that and do something about it, not just say something about it.
Yeah. Rick, how do we help our teams and our boards embrace a new definition of success, one that you're talking about?
I would say it starts with storytelling. Share moments of life changing situations, give testimonies, share the testimonies, celebrate the testimonies, and classify them as these are God-sized wins. Even if they're small, they're God-sized wins. So tell stories, testimonies. This marriage was restored. This many people were baptized. This person finally gave their heart to Christ. This person's entering into worship and they used to avoid worship, whatever it is, but highlight the testimonies. And so when you highlight transformational stories, it re-educates your team on what really matters. And cultures, I believe, they shift through celebration.
I remember one of my first stops in ministry as a youth pastor. Some of the most powerful things that you could do was to bring these students up onto stage,
Absolutely.
to share their story or to share their story within their small group. And it's powerful. And when other kids would hear that, they would think, gosh, I want that. So when I became an associate pastor, a group pastor, or a senior pastor, I kept doing the same thing. I would have people tell their stories because they can have the pastor talking to them every Sunday and they could be coming and being faithful, but then they could get on autopilot. But whenever I would bring people on stage or give them a platform, whether it was at a church breakfast or some kind of prayer vigil or whatever it was, people like to hear the stories of other people. So are you sharing, like Rick said, these moments of change, these testimonies, the good things that are happening in your church? And so if you've got one, we would love to, we'd love to hear it in the comments.
Absolutely.
Rick, what would you say to the pastor who feels like, man, I'm failing because my numbers are down?
Yeah. Oh, I have felt that. I'd say, man, I have felt that too many times to count. Don't confuse pruning with punishment. Sometimes God cuts back growth to create strength. Fruitfulness, often follows seasons of pruning, not just literally when you're pruning a bush, but spiritually and emotionally in our lives. So I would say stay faithful. The same God who called you in the high seasons hasn't changed his mind in the hard ones.
Yeah, and I really love the way that you put that. Don't confuse pruning with punishment, because we feel that as pastors. We think, well, my numbers are down. Why aren't people coming? And sometimes God's just saying, hey, I'm doing something. Don't get in the way here. Just be faithful, right? Well done, good and faithful servant, you mentioned earlier on. And it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Because if you are going through a season where your numbers are down and you feel like you're not doing what you're supposed to, that's a you problem, not a God
100%,
problem, right?
100%. Yeah.
And I've been in that season. And let me tell you, Rick, even though I hear you say that now, I do not love that. I don't want to be in that season.
I hate it. Absolutely.
I'm always wanting to climb the mountain. I don't want to be falling down the mountain. But
Yep. Because I feel like I've been rolling down the mountain more times than I've been actually, climbing in an exciting season, just because ministry's hard. It's not easy. It really becomes difficult emotionally when we lose this perspective as a pastor. Love and serve. It doesn't matter. You can love and serve one person, 5 people, or 500. You just love and serve. You love and serve your team. You love and serve whoever shows up. They get love. They get service. That's it. And if we can just go, our goal here today is to love and serve who shows up, and we posture our heart to genuinely believe that, then I think the number game kind of just doesn't plague us as much.
Man, I love that. Pastors, if you needed to hear that today, hit like or even comment faithful below and let others know that they're not alone. So, Rick, I appreciate that. You own a company called ChurchHub.AI.
Yeah.
And helps a lot of pastors. And so how does ChurchHub.AI help pastors focus on health over the hype that we're talking about?
So technology like, our platform, I would say, let's just keep this in mind. Technology is neutral. It does what you tell it to do. If you use it to chase vanity metrics, that's what it'll feed you because it's about what you're putting in, what you're looking for. But if you use it to simplify your week, communicate more clearly, empower your leaders, it gives you time back for relationships, for pastoring, and that's health. So ChurchHub.AI, it was built specifically for that purpose, to handle the logistics so pastors can handle people.
Man, I love it. I would love to spend way more time with my people than with AI or sitting in front of a computer screen. That 100%. Is for sure.
Yep.
So, Rick, if you could leave pastors with a thought of redefining success, what would that be?
It would be this. Your calling isn't to impress people. It's to impact them. Don't measure success by how full the room is. Measure it by how full your people are of Jesus. Health always produces the kind of growth that God wants. Here's the kicker. It's in His timing, not ours.
Man, that's so good.
It's always on a different playing field. It's just or not playing field, just timetable,
I'm glad that God's on His time and not on ours, because my timing is not always right, nor is probably most people listening to this right now. So,
yeah.
Pastors, if this conversation encouraged you, we would love for you to share it on YouTube or with another pastor that needs to hear it. And maybe if you think somebody doesn't need to hear it, I'll bet you those are the people that need to hear it.
Yeah.
So, leave your comments, give us your stories of what healthy success looks like for you. Rick, I'm just really excited as we finish up this series and we move into our new series coming up next week. Until then, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and remember that pastors, you're not alone, and the successes and the failures, just keep moving and let's do this together. So, Rick, thanks so much for being here, brother.
Absolutely.
We'll see you next time.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mo.